Welcome. This is Beth Hovis, the sweet urban living lady. And on my podcast, I am having the wonderful pleasure of introducing y'all to people, healers who have gone on their own healing journey. And what I mean by healers are people who are in the wellness field who are trying to help others get back their health. So healer is not necessarily some wild and crazy, ooh, they've got healing powers, because healing comes from God, and God created our bodies to heal. And if we know how to connect with Him and do the things that He says to do, healing can come to our bodies. And I'm really excited today to welcome a guest, Stephanie Criss. And I want to share a little bit about her before we start diving into her healing journey. So let me do that real quick. So Stephanie Criss is wife, mother of 6 children, and grandmother to 4 grandbabies, and she is passionate about natural health. Her joy, besides spending time with those she loves, is sharing her love for natural health, using her personal health journey as an inspiration to others. Being in the medical field for over 30 years and a registered nurse for 25 years, she has learned to share her core traditional training and work history for a new, fresher outlook on how the body has the capability to heal itself and regain health. Exactly what we were saying. As a certified natural health provider, she utilizes her medical knowledge and natural health education to find balanced natural health solutions. Expanding on her role as a nurse educator, Stephanie has continued her love of teaching by sharing natural health tips in her natural living classes and is building towards her role as a provider. That sounds really exciting, Stephanie, and I'm really glad to have you on the show today. You and I have a little bit of a history working together on some things, so it was really cool when I was like, oh, who can I have as a guest? I know you have an incredible story, and I'd really love to dive into that with you. So can you just give me a little bit on, how you got started in the natural health field? Because you say you're a nurse, so you started out in the nursing field. Tell us what happened there.
Well, thank you very much for having me on, Beth.
So glad.
I'm very excited to be here today, and it's a wonderful opportunity to share how natural health can really work.
Yeah.
As you know, I didn't start out in natural health right away. I went to nursing school, and I knew from a very young age. And I actually asked my mom the other day, I'm like, how old was I when this happened? And she's like, you were 3 or 4.
Oh, wow.
And I said, that young, I remember that. And what happened was my dad was injured, and he was laid up for a little while. Mm-hmm. And so, I just had this urge to help him. I just knew I needed to do something. I wanted to help him feel better. And so I ran into my toy room and I grabbed my doctor's kit and I went in and I took care of him. And from there, I just knew. But there wasn't any natural health at the time. We lived out in the sticks and there wasn't a lot of conversation about natural health. So I knew I wanted to take care of people, and I went to nursing school. And as I progressed in nursing school, and graduated and started my practice, I noticed that it wasn't all that it was said to be. I knew we could do things better, and I just didn't know how. And it was a lot of the protocols and set rigid structure that you needed to follow in order to take care of somebody. And as my years progressed in nursing, became more about the documentation versus patient care. And so I tried a few different modalities to get back into patient care, because that's where my heart was to be with the patients, talk to them, educate them, work with them. And so, it takes a while for you to figure out where you need to be. And it took a family, I don't want to say crisis, but it was a huge family crisis in order for me to take the dive to find the better way. And I'm a firm believer that everything has its time and its place, and that there's a good combination between the two. You're not going to go to a surgeon for natural health healing, but you're also not going to go to a natural healer for surgery. So there has to be that balance.
Okay, so you got into nursing because you were wanting to help others with, with their pain, their hurt, and things like that. And it sounds like, the system of nursing removed you from the care of helping others. And you're saying it was because of something that happened in the family, in your family, that caused you to, look at other things, look at the natural health field. And that's maybe what got you moving into this direction of the natural health field.
There was. The life event that happened was my husband has a lot of allergies and a lot of medical illness. And we started noticing that he had this strange rash going on. And because he has allergies, we're hypervigilant and still are looking at packages and everything that we bring into the house. Well, when he started getting this rash all over himself, we cleaned out the house, looked at every package again, like, where's this coming from? And through calling manufacturers, we wound up finding that our laundry soap had something that he was allergic to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was weird because it was just right where the clothing was rubbing. And so we tried to narrow it down. Started making laundry soap, doing my own things and cleaners. And I was like, well, this is cool. This is great. And then the hives and the rash started happening again. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm doing everything right. I made my own cleaners. I've got my own laundry soap. What's going on? And it was weird. He would wake up in the middle of the night, like 2, 3 in the morning. And all of a sudden my feet are itching. And then he'd start getting these hives all over. Some were tiny, some were ginormous.
Like, oh my goodness. Oh, wow.
It was pretty scary. And a lot of ER trips, a lot of doctor trips. No one could figure this out. It was kind of a panic state.
Yeah.
It was very scary because he sit there and go, my throat is tight. And I'm like, oh dear God, I'm killing my husband and I don't know how. it was awful. And we went to the University of Virginia, and we were diagnosed with, but my husband was diagnosed with alpha-gal.
And say that again. Diagnosed with what now?
Alpha-gal. That is a tick-borne illness where the gist of it is you become allergic to meat and meat byproducts. So my husband was tested and he popped hot, like high off the charts.
Yeah.
For alpha-gal. He's allergic to meat byproducts. So he can't have any dairy. He can't have. Goodness. And my husband is a carnivore. When I say carnivore, I'm saying we had like meat stocked in that freezer.
Yeah.
So the second we found out, that turned into a whole complete upheaval of the house.
Yeah.
It was awful because like I had to try to figure out how to feed a carnivore better. And I have allergies. I mean, mine are minor. I have seafood allergies, but he grew up in the Northeast where seafood was the thing. Yeah. And I had, love of citrus, and he couldn't do that because of his allergies. And so we had that from the go, and then throw in, now we can't eat any meat.
Oh my goodness. Can only do
poultry. So I was scrambling to try to figure out how to keep him healthy on top of all of his issues. So
that, and that's one of those things where I just want to pause right there and go, that is what I've discovered when I first got into the natural health business, started learning about herbs, working at an herb shop, my first job. The complex cases were rare. Now it's almost like you come across complex cases all the time. It's like, now you can't eat meat now. And I know you're talking about two different people, but you're talking about balancing a family, a household. How do you feed everybody who has different allergies or different complications or different things? And that's a lot of what we're seeing nowadays. And I'd love to hear just a little bit about, what y'all did, how you managed that. Tell us about that.
Well, I have to tell you, grocery shopping for the first time was excruciating. It was horrible to just go through, and I had to learn the names of all of the secret hidden ingredients. Yeah, I did a lot of research, which salad dressings he could have, because, we still hadn't converted over to more natural ways. So I had to try to find some normalcy with what he had going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just read a lot of labels, and we started growing our own chickens and
Oh, good.
our own eggs, and we had turkeys. And so we did fish and poultry a lot. And I told everybody we were vegan, because when you say vegan, that's no meat, no dairy. So, we were safe. And I
Yeah.
did all the holiday cooking.
Yes.
I did all the cooking, and we didn't go to anyone's houses because,
Oh.
it was very difficult because people were so stressed
Mm-hmm.
that, it's like, what do I feed him? I don't know. I'll bring something for him,
Yeah.
that type of thing. And so
It changes it. So I'm like, okay, that's another thing when you're talking about health. It's not just physical health, it's relationships, it's connections with community. It changes a lot of times these things, like what you're telling us you and your husband went through and your family goes through. It affects more than just, oh, I don't feel good.
right.
It affects your life. And we want to get people's life back as well as getting people feeling good again. So, excruciating learning process. What else happened?
Well, then that all of the stress from all of this going on,
Mm-hmm.
his GI system, which was sensitive anyway, and he had a lot of issues from his youth,
Yeah.
that started acting up.
Oh.
So his gastritis, his colitis, you name it, all of that started acting up, and we were going to specialists for that, on top of trying to balance, the new diagnosis of alpha-gal.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was where I was getting a little frustrated.
Yeah.
And finally, they looked at us and they said, we have to put him on medication. And my husband was like, okay, well, what's the catch? And he's like, well, they're gel coated. And I'm like, he can't do that.
Right.
And they're like, that's all we have. If you want this to simmer down, this is what you got to do. So watching my husband try to get his GI system calmed down and breaking out in full body hives every day and itching terrible was awful. It was just awful.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's hard. So I have sympathy both for the ones who are going through the health issue, because living with pain, living with, and a lot of times, so your husband had hives, so you could see the physical, but there are a lot of people who don't have a physical, they look normal, they look healthy, and yet they're in a lot of pain on the inside. And I want to go back to what you said about the gel caps. So just in case anybody didn't catch that, gel caps are usually made from bovine or porcine, and that means cows or pigs. So if you're having problems with meat and your medicine is covered with this, something that you're allergic to, you can still be triggering those reactions if you take the medication. Oh gosh. So it sounds like y'all were like, well, what do we do now? Because you've cleaned out your laundry room, you've stopped eating meat, you're raising you had a total lifestyle change.
We were body slammed into it. It wasn't a gradual, it was like, bam, here it is, do this.
Wow.
And it was hard. And so that's when I looked at my husband and I'm like, I'm fixing this. I'm over this. This is just, we're not doing this forever. And I started researching.
Okay.
I took the horns, and I started researching, and I found a natural health school that really aligned with what I was and how I wanted to practice. I talked to Sally for quite some time, and I was like, I think this is great. And so I enrolled and I took classes, and I was loving life. I was like, this is what I need to do.
Yay.
Now, yeah, it was a different transition because my husband, wasn't there yet. And I respected his place, I was like, well, we can try this, and I'm learning about this and such. And so, he's a slow starter in that, where I'm full bore, kid in a candy shop. Let's go. Let's do this. I'm learning. This is great. Let's fix this.
Yes.
And so it took a little while, and I wasn't able to truly, once I graduated, I wasn't able to start into practice because we had more life events happen.
Okay.
And that's, it's the name of the game. He was still in his healing process. We were able to get him off the medication, and then he was able to get his GI system calmed down a little bit. And the alpha gal started calming down a little bit. And we wound up moving across state to be with family.
Okay.
So that was a huge transition, finding a house, more life circumstances happened. So the practice wasn't in the cards at that time, but I still enjoyed and I still dabbled and did things like when colds came around, I called it my make you not get sick tea, and things like that.
You moved, you had to start a new home. You're having to start, a new lifestyle, a new diet. And, you were saying that your husband wasn't quite on board yet, but you were doing the things that you could to help him come along. And he did start coming in. He did start making the changes and the adjustments that needed to be made. Is that right?
I think once the dust settled for us, we were settled into our new home. I think it was just him being able to calm himself and reset the food that we're eating, things like that. And I don't know. I think I would have to say it was by the grace of God. He simmered down a little bit and was able to get a better grip on it. So he didn't need the meds. Yeah, it was, I would say, sheer luck at that time because he wasn't really. And again, you have to put everybody where they're at. You have to accept where they're at and try to work with their limitations. And he wasn't ready just yet to try a lot of natural things. So it was like, okay. So we just worked on stress relief and just resetting. And that seemed to help keep it at bay a little bit to where he was functional.
I love that you brought up that point of, recognizing where people are and meeting them where they are, because you mentioned that you jumped right in and you were like, hey, let's just take this on. Let's do this. Let's, whatever it was that you needed to take care of yourself, you were ready for, but your husband wasn't really there yet. And so you had to help him do the things that were right for him, that he was ready and able and willing to do at that time.
I did a little, and when I was like, come on, you gotta, and he was like, and I'm like, all right. It took me a little while to get the hint that, I had to slow it down a little bit, that he needs that turtle pace where I'm, ramjet the rookie, So I was dabbling and practicing and taking care of things. And, but the thing was, I was missing what was going on with me.
Okay. I just have to laugh right here because, that's the thing is we get so busy with the thing, helping others. We get so busy with, taking care of family and all of their other issues that we forget to look at ourselves and take care of ourselves properly too. And it sounds like that's what you were doing.
I forgot that story that, when you're in let's say you're in that plane accident and, you go, what do you do first? Your plane is going to crash or, having difficulty, the oxygen mask drop. What do you do? I was too busy putting oxygen masks on everybody else and I forgot to put it on myself. And so I started noticing that my health was sliding a little bit. And I was like, well, I'm going to get him over this hump and then I'm going to get this done and I'm going to fix that. And, I just kept putting it off. I've got some time. I'm okay. I'm a trooper. And, I was one of those tough chicks that, can handle anything. I mean, some of the jobs that I've had and, the accomplishments that I've done, I'm like, you've got this, and then I didn't. And I hit a wall and I hit it hard. I was so sick. I was extremely dizzy. My body went into total dysregulation. My heart was all over the map. It sounds weird, but my body stopped remembering how to breathe sometimes. Sounds totally weird. I would sit there and that's how I felt anyway. Because I'd sit there and all of a sudden I'm like, and I'm not breathing. Come on, wake up. Come on. Wait, get there. It was, and I think it was just my stress level. I don't think I forgot how to breathe, but it was like,
Okay, Stephanie, I'm kind of laughing here because when you say I forgot how to breathe and I had to put my own face mask on and all that, I mean, that is really something that we need as natural wellness practitioners, as moms, as anyone, even if you're not a wellness practitioner. We do have to learn how to take care of ourselves. It's not wrong to take care of ourselves. And while I know you didn't actually forget how to breathe, there's something when we get under that stress, there's something about how we just start to kind of, we hold our breath. We don't inhale deeply. It doesn't fill up our entire lung capacity. And when we do that, it actually increases the stress and issues in our lives rather than helping clear that. So you had to, while going through all of these things that you were going through, helping your husband, you recognized that you were having things of your own that you were dealing with, but you said, I'm taking care of everybody else. And that is one of those things where, we really have to make sure we're paying attention to us and taking care of our needs too.
Yeah. And it was just tough times, just everything just was dysregulated. Bowels, bladder, you name it. I just wasn't functioning. I'd walk and I'd start teetering and getting dizzy. And I had two forms of dizziness that I was diagnosed with, on and on. It was just, I was a hot mess.
Okay, so you're this hot mess, and it's not just the allergies that you were experiencing. You said you had all of these other things, bladder issues, imbalances, all these other things that you were dealing with, and it seems like there were some neurological things going on. And so what is it that you did? How did you find answers for yourself? How did you get the help that you needed to start you on this journey of healing?
Well, I hit my provider, and lovely lady, just very supportive. And I explained to her, I said, yeah, hi, I'm here. And I hit a wall because I didn't take time to find a new provider here. I didn't, because I was busy taking care of everyone else. And, the jobs, and I mean, you're working 50, 60 hours a week, putting out live fires. And so I met her and I explained to her, I said, hi, I'm a, nurse for several years, but I have taken a holistic approach to life now. And I was just wondering if you could work with me. And she was awesome. She was like, yeah, let's do this. And I was like, okay. So I said, I'll tell you what, I'll make a deal with you. I will let you know every step of the way what I'm doing. And while you're working here to do what you need to do medically, I'm going to do what I need to do over here naturally. And she was cool. So I went and while she was ordering tests and specialists and things like that to kind of get down to the bottom, because it was like an onion type of thing with me. We kept peeling back layers, and there was that extra layer and another layer and another layer. So it was pretty wild to see all of this unfold. And so I went and I saw a functional neurologist, and I got an evaluation. I went and got thermography, full body thermography, and I was trying to piece this all together. And it was pretty tough because each doctor that I went to had a different opinion and a different take on things. And so, one person said I had dysautonomia, another one said I had dystonia, and on and on. And one neurologist told me all of this was going on because I had a migraine when I was in fourth grade.
Wow.
Legit. And didn't do any complete neuro exam. I'm like, hey, what about an EEG to see if there's like something going on? But they just kind of did the, cardinal signs, look over here, look over there. And pat and said, you're not feeling good, and that was it. And I was like, wow, huge blow to me, because I was like, I even like, I mapped it out for them, can we do a little more? Oh no, I think there's enough, And when I brought all of the paperwork that, from my thermography, and I brought the functional neurologist, and they kind of like turned their nose up and wouldn't even look at anything. And I was like, wow, here I'm showing you I have areas of inflammation, and, can you help me with all of this?
Wow. So they're not even like really paying attention to you or what you're telling them or doing the tests that you need them to do.
And when I got snubbed, I was like, yeah, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
Because, I went through MRIs and CT scans and everything was fine. And I went through PT, and my physical therapist, he found one part of the dizziness was I had ear crystals dislodged.
Oh man.
So that was corrected. And then we still were working on the other part of dizziness because I would constantly feel like I was on water, where you're just rocking back and forth. And then all of a sudden, like these crashes of waves would hit me and just knock me over. And I had bruises all over me. And I was, I was a hot mess.
Yeah.
And so I had a few friends that reached out to me when I started asking questions. There's a site that I belong to, and I would, ask questions and like get some ideas on like where to head, because when it's yourself, it's a little harder to, I don't want to say focus, but it's a little harder to focus and get yourself right so you're able to take care of yourself. And so I asked a lot of friends, hey, what do you think? I've got this going on. And I had somebody who was going through this at the same time. They had just been a couple months ahead of me. And so they, mapped out, this is what I did. And I did X, Y, Z. And I think if you did X, Y, and Z, you're going to be better. And I started following what they did. And it helped out tremendously. I noticed a difference, and I was very excited that I was seeing things get better. It wasn't huge leaps and bounds, but it was slow, steady progress. And I thought it was phenomenal. And so, I kept asking questions. And when I hit a wall and I just was stagnant, I'm like, okay. And I throw another question out there. And I have a group of people that I'm surrounded by that are just phenomenal. If you have a question, you ask it and they try to give you some advice, or they'll try to point you in the right direction. And, they taught me a lot about different modalities to try. And I'm very appreciative because, my mom always says that God puts special people in your life at a time when you need them, little angels that come along. And it's just like, I was blessed because, when I would hit a wall, somebody would come and say, hey, have you ever thought of this? Have you ever tried this? And it was nice to have that support.
Yes, it is. It is. Community is everything. And that's, having people who, even if they don't understand exactly what you're going through, like the one person did, that's fabulous that she was able to say, hey, try this, this, and this. But having people who just care and understand and who will come and support, even if they don't know exactly what you're feeling, that can be huge. So
it made a world of difference.
Yeah, it makes a big difference to have that support. So, that's one of those things where, community connectedness is part of what we need. It is part of health, being connected to others who are supporting. So, if you're watching this and you're going, I don't have that, and I've tried and I've reached out and I've done, because, I know a lot of people. I've had clients, I have had family members, who have gone through something or are going through something. And it's like, they're trying, they're doing all they can, the best they can. I just want to say, don't give up hope. Just keep on praying, keep on seeking, keep on looking for answers, keep on asking those questions, which is what you did. Keep on reaching out.
Don't give up.
Because when we do that, we are inviting that people to come around. We're in a way, we're just saying, come on, I want the answers, and I'm not going to give up hope. I'm not going to just give up and say, oh, there's no hope. What's the point? Because you could have done that. And, but when you're like, my husband's going through this and I'm going through that, and we had all these issues, and, it's easy to just give up hope and go, what's the point? So you didn't do that. Now, I do want to ask,
I did talk to God one night, and I was like, wow, I can't really do much more of this.
Yeah.
And, if I wake up in the morning, then I know you got a plan for me.
Exactly.
And it was wonderful. The next day I woke up and I was like, I've got this.
Yay.
You've got my back.
Yay.
You've got my back. And even though I was still terribly sick, knowing that I was here for a purpose was awesome. It was a great feeling.
Oh, that's good. So one of
Yeah.
the things that I do is I'm a business coach. So I've been in the natural health field for many years, almost 30, maybe more than 30 years, and had my own herb shop, did consultations, and now I'm working with business practitioners, helping build and grow their business. And the reason I share all that is because one of the things that I do, I think that's a little bit unique is it's not just business strategies. It's not just, oh, this is how you do this, that, or the other. What I want to know is your design, your purpose, your identity, who you are, why you're here, and that is what you just said. Because if we don't know who we are, why we're here, why God put us here, during this time, and we're dealing with major health issues, it is easy to go, what's the point? What's the
Right.
point, if I'm suffering so much? And, that's one of those things where you've said a few times, and I want to acknowledge that God is always with us, even when we're suffering. Nothing separates us from God. Nothing separates us from his love for us. And I'm going to tell you, I know it's going to make some people upset when we say these things, because it is one of those we get upset. Well, where was God when all this was happening? And he was right there. He is right there. And it's one of those things where a lot of times if we'll just go to God and say, okay, I'm going through something, but you still love me. You still created me for such a time as this. You still created me fearfully and wonderfully made. And are we knit together in our mother's womb? And I'm going to tell you, because I have been in the natural health field for so long, because you've been in the health field so long, you've seen people suffer.
Yes.
It's bad and it's hard, but with hope, and it's like it changes everything. So grab hold of the hope and find out, that's why I'm going. It's like, find out what your identity is. So I think that's kind of where we're going with this, even this conversation with you, Stephanie, is you've told us, okay, I went through all this. Even as a little girl, I knew that I wanted to be in healthcare of some way, or caring for others. You may not have defined it at 3 years old as
No.
healthcare, but you knew you had it in you to care and nurture others. And now you've gone through this journey and you worked in a field where you could help others. And then it got you said something about too much paperwork, but then you had to do something extreme for your own family, but it's brought you here. And even these extreme, the extreme things that happen to us, it feels like, it's too much. It's too much. And why is there so much suffering? Why is there so much pain? And yet it's in the suffering, it's in the pain. And I am not one of these people where God puts something on us. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying we live in the world, and the world, there's hurt, there's pain, there's suffering. And, I guess what I'm trying to say, Stephanie, is I appreciate your message of hope and how you're looking at this and you're saying, I held on to God, and even through the pain. And it's a lot of times when we're in this pain, as we turn to God, we grow, we mature, we find our calling, we find our purpose, we find healing. We begin to get better. We begin to have our health restored for us. And that's really what you're telling me here, is that you came from suffering and pain and all of these things happening to you and your husband and your family into a place of growing into knowing who you are, that calling from when you were a little girl, now maturing as a grown woman with a family and helping others as well. And just, knowing that this is something that you wanted to do. And that's what kept you going, that you have that purpose in life. So I guess one of my next questions is, Stephanie, is who are you helping, and how are you helping others? Because right now you're not seeing a lot of clients per se, but you are helping others in a unique way. Can you share a little bit about that?
Right now, it's mainly family members and friends, just dabbling a little bit. And I teach at our local church. I teach healthy living classes. I have a group of ladies that we get together once a month. And I sat down and explained to them because, I have some symptoms still remaining. And I explained to them, I said, I'm still finishing off my health journey. I said, you never really finish off your health journey. I said, but I wanted to share my health journey with you and teach you that, despite everything, you can return to a good state of health through supporting your body. And I'm living proof of it. And I said, well, look at me. I know I'm a little on the chunky side, and I have some issues going on. And I said, you're probably looking at me going, what does this gal know about natural health? And I said, well, I'll tell you, I'm, a certified natural health provider. And I went through school, and I forgot to check my warning signs because I was too busy taking care of everybody else. And I had a couple of ladies go, oh, that's me. And I'm like, I get you. I'm there. I see you, and they were really cute and very supportive. And so I make a PowerPoint and we start talking about natural health. And I talked to them about the foundations of health, and we went over a lot of things. And the girls were back and forth talking and asking questions. And this one we're working on right now is I made a huge module, like it's going to last me months and months, but it is all about what's in our food and eating real food, not just grabbing the box that's on there and looking at the label and saying, oh, this is pretty okay. You actually have to read the label and go through, and I'm going to have the girls bring food in that they have in their pantry. And we're going to go over all of that stuff. So I'm really excited about what's moving forward. But that's getting myself out there and not being ashamed of where I was at or afraid to talk about it. Because, that was my big, huge stumbling block was here I was. I had an image of myself, that Florence Nightingale, can go through anything, and when I got sick, it was bam. I was at another body slam into, holy cow, this is a new reality. And now building myself back up, it's given me the strength and the courage to do things like today. I never would really want to be on camera, I'm just, I'm more of a quiet wallflower type of person. When it comes to cameras and that type of thing, I'm not one that can get up on a podium and talk very, very long. And so I'm getting myself out of my creature comforts and learning that it's okay.
Yeah, it really is okay, Stephanie. And I love the story that you're sharing, about the reality of where you are and, being vulnerable to even say, here I am in front of other people, women who I'm teaching this class and you're going, hey, what if I'm not the epitome of health? And, because it's actually those who have gone through things like this before, who have, been through the struggle themselves. I find when I can relate to someone who's been through that similar struggle or something like that, it's easier for me to go, hey, yeah, I want to hear more about what you say. So when you get up in front of people and you go, this has been my health journey and I've learned a lot and I know I'm not perfect yet. I know and no one's ever perfect, right? And we never actually reach the state of perfection where our health is always perfect, our family is perfect, or whatever is perfect. And so I just want to say that I love that you're going, I'm getting up in front of people. This is beyond my comfort zone. I don't really want to do this, but you're stepping out and you're putting yourself out there. And I think your message is just fantastic. I think what you're sharing and the way that you're doing it is just absolutely brilliant. With the journey that you've been on and you've gone through and you've gotten your training in natural health and you're teaching these classes, do you have more plans for the future of how you're going to use what you've learned?
I do have plans to expand my education and grow and develop into a more knowledgeable practitioner. And I would like to open up my own business. I really would. I don't see myself stopping here. I see myself moving forward and being able to reach a lot more people So I'm excited about that. It's just going to take some time, like anything, because I still have a little bit to go before I'm 100% and able to get out there.
Okay, so you're expanding your education. You're looking at wanting to go into business. Maybe
Yes.
is there anything in particular you're looking at studying that you're just going? I just can't wait to learn about that.
Oh my gosh. Still a kid in a candy store because I really am. There are so many things. You taught me a snippet about gemotherapy,
Yeah.
and oh my gosh, I so would like to learn more about that. And I expressed that to you. I'm like, I loved it.
Yes.
And even trying it, I know that it has helped the inflammation tremendously.
Good.
And I was like, this is awesome.
So what she said was chemotherapy, that GEMOTHERAPY. Chemotherapy is when we use the buds and shoots of the plant rather than the fully mature plant like we typically do in herbology. And yes, I am working on creating a course in chemotherapy. So that is something that is on my it's after I finish writing the lessons for my coaching program, which I'm almost done with. Yay. And, and then after that, I'm going to be going into chemotherapy. So yeah, chemotherapy is fascinating. So I'll let y'all know when that's ready to go. But chemotherapy helped you when other herbs didn't. So that's fascinating that
Yes.
can help. So that's coming. What else? Is there anything else that you're going, oh yeah, I want to learn about that too?
There are actually several. Enzyme therapy. I wanted to look into Loomis enzymes.
Mm-hmm.
I want to learn about iridology, more of that. I
teach iridology too, so I was like, yeah.
I loved it. I wasn't super good at it. So I was like, I'm not going to let this kick my behind. And I really want to learn more about it. I liked it because I thought it was fascinating, and it brought me to a reminder of when my son was little, his eye doctor caught something by looking in his eye and said that he had issues with his nervous system. Mm-hmm. And I was like, how did you know that? And he's like, well, it's all in his eye. And I was like, I've never had anyone tell me that.
Wow.
And it was true. My son did have an issue.
Wow.
And so we did a lot of therapies to try to get him better. And it was amazing. But when I learned about that in school, I was like, oh wow, this is cool. There's only so many people that you have eyes to look at. So that are willing and go. Yeah. So I'm expanding my horizons, and we'll probably get some more, I call them victims, to practice.
Eyes are definitely fascinating. So before we wrap up, and I do want to go back to that question of if there's one or maybe two things that you would say to someone to encourage them to help get their health back. What would it be? What would you say to that person?
Well, first and foremost, I would remind them if they were religious, and I'd ask them, are you religious and do you believe in God? And if you do, put your faith in God, put your faith and trust in God, because that's really one of the cornerstones of why I think I'm better.
Okay.
And then I would also go with never give up. There was times, like I said, tripping and falling, literally, because of this, and I just picked myself back up, and I was like, I can do this.
Yeah. I
can get better. I know I can.
That's beautiful.
And I kept just telling God, I believe in you.
Yeah.
And that's what really helped.
That's perfect, because we can take all kinds of herbs or supplements or medications, but that's only addressing the health of the body. Mm-hmm. And we are more than just body. We're spirit, soul, and body, and we want to be healthy spirit, soul, and body. And a lot of times it starts with our spiritual, where we are in our relationship with God, what we believe about Him, what we believe about ourselves. That's why I'm going back to the don't give up hope.
Don't give up.
that you were created for a reason, that you have an identity and a purpose. Okay, as we wrap up the show, I just want to say, if you're interested in taking courses in iridology, please visit my website. There is a link below. I have both online classes and in-person classes. We do Brilliant Health Weekend Away, where we teach on muscle response testing and reinforce what people have learned. If you're a wellness practitioner and you just need some hands-on training and you're going, I just want to put to practice, something, the Brilliant Health Weekend Away events are great for that. And if you are just wanting to get more out of your business, build a stronger business, I also offer the Roots to Results coaching. So my information is in the comments below, and you can look at that and just say, hey, this is what I want to learn more about. And I just really appreciate, Stephanie, I appreciate you so much being here with me today, because it was one of those times where you've done a lot without my help, but there was just this one area where, it was like, I'm still struggling with this. And I said, hey, let's you and I talk. And I introduced you to gemotherapy then. And it's like, so there are answers out there for people. I just want y'all to know that there's more to learn. And Stephanie, I just want to say one more time, thank you so much for joining me here today on this podcast. It has been so much fun. And if you do want to reach out to Stephanie, the name of her business is Evergreen Healing, and we will have her contact information, her email address in the show notes in the comments below. So thank you so much, Stephanie. It has really been a pleasure. So fun having you here today, hearing your story. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.